Hey guys, Ashley here, also known as Ashley Rant. I'm back today with another One Tree Hill rant. Honestly, didn't think I was going to be able to do one today, but I decided because I'm not really doing anything. I just got done writing, so I thought I would just get this rant over with. So, with my teen drama rant, I decided I'm going to go in order in which teen drama show I have seen. So, I know One Tree Hill was the first teen drama show I've ever watched. So after my One Tree Hill rant, I'll be doing Gossip Girl. Which Gossip Girl, I really don't have a lot to say. I don't really have a lot of issues with that show. There's just probably going to be a couple things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about Chuck and Bird's relationship, the whole toxic controversy, the things that I'm just going to explain that are just my thoughts on the relationship, which I personally do ship them. I love Chuck and Blair. I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to talk about how the writers rushed Dan and Serena back together. I'm going to talk about why Rufus and Lily were just not a great match after season 2. I'm going to talk about Jenny's downfall and how the writers failed Jenny. What else? I'm going to talk about Dan and Blair. I'm probably going to do a more longer video about it, because I did do a video about them, about couples I couldn't stand. But I'm probably going to do another video about them. I don't like Dan and Blair together. I'm not a fan of that. And I'm going to do a video about season 5, because to me, I feel like season 5 was just such a boring season. So I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about season 6. Well, I think season 6 was actually a really good final season, and people need to put more respect on it. So I'm going to try my best to not forget these topics. Like I said, nothing too over the top. I don't really have a problem a lot with Gossip Girl. I do love Gossip Girl a lot. Actually, you know what? Another problem I'm going to bring up. Well, I feel like they should have done a time jump after season 2 instead of doing a college season. Because I feel like the college seasons really made the atmosphere of Gossip Girl kind of boring in season 3 and 4. Like, the college thing just made things really boring. Season 4 was a good season, don't get me wrong. It was a good season from start to finish, even though the second half was kind of slow and a little bit dull. But still a good season all around. Season 3 had good stuff in it, but all around it was just a very boring season. Like, the pacing just felt very slow. So I'm going to talk about that. Why I think they should have done a time jump instead of the season 3 going straight to college. So I'm going to write down these topics so I don't forget what I just said, or if I do need to remember, I'll just go back to the video just in case. Like I said, not a lot, so just know that. Right after One Tree Hill, we'll talk about Gossip Girl, and then after Gossip Girl, I believe I got into, it was either Vampire Diaries or Secret Life of the American Teenager. It was one of those two. I should think about which ones I want to do first. Vampire Diaries has a lot of things in that show that just, that is so many topics in that show that need to be talked about. Secret Life, not a lot, but maybe there are some things I can talk about, but I know from the top of my dome, there's not really a lot. I'll think about it. But let's get into the rant today for One Tree Hill. It is a season 4 storyline that I personally just did not like, and that's about the forced romance between Dan and Karen. Now, me and my sister got into a really big debate about this, about how she felt about it. She said she felt like people were acting like they were getting married, and she said it's just a storyline, it's just characters. I understand that, but to me, when I watch a TV show, I get the goal of the writer is to make you attached to these characters. That's the reason why people always defend Brooke so hard. It's the reason why I defend Lucas so hard. I defend Peyton. Why I go so hard about these characters, because they just didn't feel like characters. They felt like real people going through real triumphs and real situations. And to me, it's not just a show. I get behind these characters and behind their problems and behind their issues. So to me, season 4, when let's just get into it. Okay, so let me just talk about what I didn't have an issue with. I did not have an issue with Dan wanting to be there for Karen. I didn't have an issue with that. I didn't have an issue with him not wanting to leave her alone. I think we all can agree that his intentions weren't good. They were coming from a place of kind of manipulative, trying to pretend like he wasn't terrible to Karen or terrible to Keith or terrible to Lucas. But I can understand he didn't want Karen to be completely alone, because Lucas is in high school and he can't drop everything to be there for his mom and her whole pregnancy. I understand Dan's motive behind that, but Lucas is a great son, and he was going with her to every appointment. So he wasn't just gonna say screw his mother. Even if she's not gonna have someone there for her pregnancy, he'll be there for her. I had no problem with Dan wanting to do that. I thought they were gonna go towards a friendship when they did that, but when you could obviously see that it wasn't turning into a friendship, it was slowly turning into a romance. That's when I had a problem with. Right after the state championship episode, you can clearly tell the writers were making this into a romance. And to me, that really, really didn't sit well with me. I did not like it. I will never forget the scene when Deb came in there and pretty much told Karen off. And I'm thinking, I agree with everything Deb is saying. Everything that she is saying. Karen is being so stupid. If Keith was standing right here, right now, he would turn over in his grave looking at this. How can you allow the man who played you, let you alone at 17? I understand that Keith was there, but she'll never forget the fact that the father of her child was not there for her, helping raise their son that they made. Karen didn't have sex by herself. Left her to go do basketball, only for that dream to not even turn out right. He ended up marrying Deb and using her for her money. I just couldn't believe they were turning this into a romance. How could she allow Dan back into her life so fast, I might add? I had no problem with forgiveness. It just felt like Dan didn't work for it. Forgiveness shouldn't be handed out like candy. It shouldn't. And to me, it just felt like she just forgave him because she was pregnant and she didn't want to be alone. When he said, I'm not going to leave you alone this time, I think she really wanted to believe it, so she allowed him back in. And I understand that. She's pregnant. You don't want to be alone during a pregnancy. But at the end of the day, there's no reason to look desperate. I'm not going to be desperate for anybody. Even if I am pregnant, I'm not going to just let some man capitalize on my vulnerability because I am pregnant. And that's what mostly it felt like, was that Dan was just capitalizing on her vulnerability because she was pregnant. Because he knew that if Karen wasn't pregnant, she wouldn't give him the time of day. She wouldn't give him the time of day, and he knew that. And the fact they try to force this whole that be a family thing down Lucas's throat, it's like, y'all want to be a family? You want me to call him daddy now? What the hell are y'all thinking? The fact that he tried to manipulate Karen is thinking that Lucas is mentally unstable. I just couldn't believe that they made Karen so dumb. They really made Karen really stupid. They really made her stupid. And I actually like Karen. Yes, she might not be the most important character, but she was a great mom to me. She put Lucas first all the time. She was a great mom. But season 4, they had her being dumb. And I couldn't believe it. They had her being really, really dumb. She tried to actually believe Dan on Lucas being mentally unstable. Lucas ain't crazy. Dan know what he did, and Lucas know what he did. I'm not crazy. Don't try to tell me I'm mentally unstable or all this other shit y'all trying to feed down my throat, because he's not. Lucas was not crazy, and everybody knows he was not crazy. They really tried to force this whole, we're going to be a family, and her telling Lucas that Dan could go with you to go tuck shopping. Who? Just because you let him back into your life does not mean I need to do the same. And I hate that people kept saying that to him. They talk about Dan's change. He took the fall for Dante. Thinking I'm gonna give him a clap. Let's give him a round of applause, everybody. Let's give Dan a round of applause for finally doing something good, finally putting somebody other than him before himself. Oh yeah, let's give him a round of applause for not being selfish for once. Yeah, let's give him a round of applause for that. That's so great. I just couldn't believe that Nathan was really trying to tell Lucas to just give him a chance because he did one good thing. Right. Just because you did one good thing doesn't make you a good person. You might have had a subconscious at that moment, it doesn't mean you've always had one. And I just couldn't believe it. And I can't believe people got mad about the fact that he said, when he looked into the closet and he was like, I'm looking for my mother because I don't see her standing here. I agree right with him. Are you seriously, Karen? You have to go on a date with this man? What the fuck has he proved to you to be worthy of your time? What has he done for you? He hasn't done a damn thing for you. And you're giving this man all of your energy. Like, I just don't understand. Like, you're inviting him over for dinner, you're inviting him over for breakfast, you're telling him we need to be a family, and you're believing him. It's just like, it was really disgusting. If I could just shape it up in those terms, it was really disgusting. It was so forced. I just couldn't believe they had Karen being that dumb. And it just proved that Dan just didn't have any good intentions, because he capitalized on her vulnerability, and he knew that he could because she was pregnant. He knew that he could because she was pregnant. And to me, I would just never like Dan. That might have to be a video I'm going to have to make. I'm going to talk about the Lucas and Peyton controversy, but I really need to talk about Dan, about why I just don't like him. I don't like Dan. Other people said that he's misunderstood, yada, 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 yada. I call bullshit. There is no gray area with his character. I put his character on the same scale as Damon. No matter what he does, I just can't get behind the guy. I can't. I don't care about the things that he's been through. I don't care about his traumas, because just because you have things that you're dealing with does not mean you take it out on other people. You don't put that on other people who've done nothing to you. And to me, I just will never fuck with Dan because of it. I will never fuck with him. And then the last thing, this really ain't gonna be that long because there's not much really to discuss besides this. For the last thing, the biggest thing I want to talk about is when he pretty much went into Lucas's room and he pretty much manipulated Karen into, I just want to break in, I just want to have redemption. And he talked about, you're not beyond redemption, I've seen it, you could be redeemed. This thing. Well, I will give the guy that played Dan, Paul Jackson or Johnson, he really, really did his job as Dan. I think he did a great job as Dan. I don't think no one else could play Dan the way that Paul Johnson played him. I always thought he was a great actor. But the character of Dan, I just can't get behind, no matter what the writers do. Even when he was on his deathbed, I did not give a damn about Dan. I just did not care. I didn't care for his redemption arc. To me, that was hella forced. I didn't care for it. I didn't like in season 6 how when Nanny Carey was torturing him, that the audience was meant to feel bad for Dan, because Nanny Carey was torturing him. It's what he fucking deserved. He deserved to eat cockroaches. He deserved to be tortured. All he's ever done was torture people for all his life. Oh, so now it's sad now because he's getting what he deserved? Oh, please. He deserved to have a heart condition. He deserved all of it. It was karma. Karma comes to everybody who don't do the good things. And to him, he just never put anybody over himself. So he got what he deserved in the end, and that was karma. And that means I don't care. I didn't care for Dan. So if he was talking about I'm being way too harsh, to me, I'm sorry, I just really don't care. I don't like Dan. I didn't care when he was dying on his deathbed. I didn't cry. I didn't give a fuck. I really couldn't. I just didn't care. I don't care. I don't care about Dan. I don't care. I don't. But to me, back to the season 4 scene, him talk about that he just want to breathe again, he just want to start over, he just wants to be redeemed, he wants to be proved that he could be a better man. And she talk about you're not beyond redemption, I've seen it, you can change. And to me, this is just such manipulation, because he knows what he did, and not going to be redeemed because of it. You can't sort of fuck around and redo murder. I'm sorry, you just can't redo murder. There is no gray area with his character when he commits murder, like I said. Now, if they would have never made him kill Keith and he would have just been, an asshole, controlling towards Deb, controlling towards Nathan, treating Karen, Keith, and Lucas all like shit and all like barbarians, okay, if in season 4 if you want to prove to me that he can change, alright, I'm with that. Because, those behaviors are extreme, but he could change that if he can try to be, be around people and try to build bonds. I think, okay. But when he killed Keith, to me, I just had no redemption towards his character. I was done with his character after he killed Keith, because I shook the hell out of Keith and Karen, and I really wanted Keith, Karen, and Lucas to be a family. I thought Keith was a great father figure to Lucas. I really did like him and Lucas bond. I did like their father and son relationship. It just felt right. And when he killed Keith, to me, I just feel like a part of me that was hoping that Dan could be a good person, that died along with him. So when him and Karen kissed, to me that was so infuriating. I felt so infuriated. I felt like I was bamboozled hook linked, and my insultance felt. My intelligence felt insulted. That's what I meant to say. My intelligence just felt so insulted by that scene. And then I was so happy when Lucas punched the fuck out of him. Because, like, stay away from my mother. Because you're a murderer. And we both know it. And to me, pretty much, right after when Karen collapsed, that's pretty much where the storyline ended. It ended. So to me, how I feel personally, I was not a fan of the storyline. I thought it was infuriating. It made Karen look stupid, and it made me hate Dan even more. The fact that he would capitalize on her vulnerability while she's pregnant, it just made me hate him even more. I had nothing against Lucas feeling any certain way about it because, first of all, that's his mother, and him and Dan do not have a good relationship. He tried so many times with Dan, and it just never worked. Dan manipulated him into moving in with him in season 2. Dan told Karen about the whole fire situation, manipulated her. Pretty much, he turned it around, and pretty much he knew that she was already angry about the situation, and she went in there and pretty much she attacked Lucas. I didn't like the things that she was saying to him. It kind of made me look at her like sideways a little bit. When she said that I raised an idiot, and he said, I know, I'm sorry. She said going into burning buildings, going into school shooting, she said I raised an idiot. No, but he didn't raise it, and I don't think Lucas is an idiot for doing those things. I will agree, he did not have to save Dan. He could have let Dan burn in flames for all I give a fuck. But like any normal person, he saw that the dealership was on fire, so he went in there and he tried to save who was ever under the ambush. I don't think he knew that Dan was on fire, so he went in there and he saved him. Okay, I can to me, I can understand her feeling like that's his life on the line. You don't have to play hero all the time, but it's like if you were a person and you saw a building burning up and you were the only one who saw it, would you just let it burn up? Like, you could save the ambulance, you could save the fire people a little bit more time if they can't get here in time. Let me try to save somebody while I'm here. I completely understand where it's coming from. And the whole school shooting thing. How are the teachers just going to leave those students inside that school and not even try to protect them? Like, I just thought about that. In that school shooting episode, all of the teachers dipped. Whitey dipped. The principal dipped. Everyone dipped and got on the bus. No one even tried to stay and try to help students that were under the attack. They waited until the authorities came there and tried to talk Jimmy out of it. I'm just thinking, like, y'all gonna dip? At least Lucas and Nathan ran back in there and tried to save who they could save. Like, at least they tried to do that. Like, the teachers didn't even try to do that. I didn't like the way she was coming at Lucas. He manipulated her in that situation. Like, him and Dan just don't have a relationship. I'm not gonna go down every nigga cranny. Y'all know their relationship. You watch the show too, whoever listens to these friends. They don't have a relationship. So I just feel like Karen and Dan trying to force this whole, we're gonna be a family now, the past is the past. It's like him and Lucas would just never have a relationship because Dan is trying to one up his relationship with Keith, and it would just never work. Lucas don't look at him like a father figure. He's never going to. So it would never work. And I was so happy when they decided to not have Chad come back and be there during Dan's death, because that would have made no sense. That would have been extremely out of character. Just like this entire storyline was really out of character for Karen, in my opinion. So to me, I don't like the storyline. I've never did. Ever since I watched the show a long time ago, I've never liked this storyline, and I never will. People who ship Karen and Dan are disgusting. I think you guys need help. Seriously, go see a therapist, because that is disgusting. If you cannot see how wrong it is gross. The one thing I will say that is kind of gross about Karen is swapping towards brothers. Now, I could understand, like, the first time, Keith was there for her, and maybe there were a little bit of underlying feelings there, but at least I can say nothing happened between her and Keith until, like, season 3. It is a little bit nasty, swapping from Keith and then going back to Dan, like, that's kind of gross. It's kind of like homie hopping. But I thought that was kind of gross, but I still ship her and Keith. I love her and Keith. They were one of the couples that would be to me of what could have been, and things were different. So to me, this has been my one street hood rant, and look out for more coming soon.